Warning, this video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Cobra, welcome back. Thank you very much for being here. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've got to say today. I know last time we spoke, we were looking at the S&P potentially reaching a Pitchfork target somewhere in the 7,500 range. And I think all the way back then, it was almost 4 months ago to the day, we were trading around 5,800 on the S&P. I think Bitcoin was trading around 65k at the time, and obviously we are right around 100k now. Gold had just hit around 2,700 for the first time, I believe, and now again is continuing to rip to new all-time highs. So you've been highly requested. The viewers of my channel have been hounding me to get you back on the show, so I'm really excited to have you on, brother. I'm really excited to see what you got to say and see how these targets are progressing. So welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate having you being back here. And yes, actually, a lot of things changed. I think last time we spoke, as you said, Bitcoin was like before we broke out this range. We're back at around 59,000. So we have come a long way. And my followers as well have been asking me to do a video with you. So it's actually, I think it's the time we actually do it now. And because I do think we have some interesting things to look at, I want to discuss a few things with you in this video. As I said before, I want to look at ask you a bit what you think about some Bitcoin top targets. And then I've been following you very closely. You're talking about the cycle low coming in soon, which I do also want to discuss where exactly we can find the cycle low. Then I want to talk a little bit about the stock market as well, quickly here, show you some targets here. Because we have been progressing since last time. And then also I want to talk about Ethereum against Bitcoin, because I do think Ethereum for the first time looks very bullish to me. And then towards the end, we can take a look at gold and maybe quickly silver. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss with you today. So I thought maybe, unless you have any questions before, I can basically jump into my Bitcoin micro charts first, and then we can discuss the cycle lows.
Yeah, that sounds great, mate. I'll hand the floor over to you, and I'll jump in if I got any questions or anything like that along the way.
Sounds good. So I thought for those who didn't watch my previous video, I'll just quickly give an introduction here to the Pitchforks. The idea is, I'll show you here from the previous bull run. The idea is I use Pitchforks to try to predict price action. And what I mainly focus on is this red line here, the median line basically. And previous cycle, the Pitchfork actually nailed both the Bitcoin top and the Ethereum top. So just very quickly, I'll show you here. This is the Bitcoin CFD chart. So it's the price action is slightly different. Also, the bear market low is slightly different. So if you apply this Pitchfork to another chart, it's not going to work the same way. So it can give you the same target. But we can see the previous bull run, I was using this Pitchfork here to guide me. And if you right-click the Pitchfork, it's a modified shift. So it's not the original. It's not the shift one here. We can see the shift one also worked in the past. The median lines, usually I believe they're used by institutions or algorithms, where they basically once price and comes up to the median line, algorithms or institutions start selling, and that causes basically the price to dump. So I was looking for correlation personally the previous bull run. We can see here Bitcoin actually got 2 touches of this median line before then the bear market started. Okay, technically this was the top here, but if you had sold at the median line, you basically would have sold the top on Bitcoin. And the beautiful thing was previous bull run, we got a very nice correlation with the Ethereum chart. So similar Pitchfork on Ethereum, we had this was Ethereum previous cycle from the bear market lows, bull market top, recent bear market lows. And I was using the shift one on Ethereum here. We can see Ethereum hit the median line at the same time as Bitcoin hit the median line previous bull run. And that's basically how we got the top. I have no idea who is using these Pitchforks. I believe there are some algorithm or some big institutions using these median lines here. So that's basically what I focus on mainly, my analysis. So just quick introduction for those who haven't used Pitchforks. So in this video, I'm going to apply the same rules, but to this bull market basically. So we're basically looking from the previous bear market, bull market top, recent bear market bottom. So what I've done here, this is my current Bitcoin chart. And just quickly I want to say shout out to you, Camel, because last time we did this video, let me just hide a few things here. So just to make the chart a bit more clear here. So last time I was using, let's come here on the weekly chart. I was using the similar analysis as I used the previous bull run. So I was using from the bear market lows, a Pitchfork here. So we use from the bear market lows, bull market top, and recent bear market lows. So basically you want to have 3 pivots here. So this was a chart last time I was on here on your channel, and we spoke about, I was looking at this median line, which was sitting at around 90K at the time being, depending on when we're going to hit it. And I was worried that we're going to get a double top. So we were looking in the past, we can see we've got the third wave here at the median line, algorithm started selling. And then I was looking, Bitcoin could have double topped before we enter a bear market. You were a bit more bullish, or I believe you've always been more bullish than me. I've always been very conservative with the targets. And you actually you asked me to look at the C19 lows here, which is kind of breaking the rules, but we can't deny this is a major low as well, the C19 lows. And we can see at the moment we actually violated this median line here. Usually the first touch is the one that is important. We can see it's formed the third wave. Ever since we got the first touch, Bitcoin entered like a sideways period for almost 6 months, and then we broke it. So there's nothing much to do other than to readjust the pitchfork. One pitchfork that you could use is the original. So you could change the setting of the pitchfork and use the original. Personally, I just don't see how Bitcoin could go to the original. So because that would be, let's say we'll top by 2026, just as an example, by New Year's. That would be 381K. So what do you think about this? Because some people have asked me to cover this pitchfork. I never really covered this before on my channel, just because I think this target is too ridiculous. But just a quick thought, what do you think this could be possible? This is not my main pitchfork. I'll show you my main in a second. But I just don't think that could happen.
I think you're right. I don't think it would be pretty insane if it did that, right? I think if we could get anywhere between 180 and 250, we would have done extremely well. That's what I think. So maybe you could bring your cursor back a little bit and see what sort of price we would be at if we hit it around, let's say, September or October. Then I'm guessing...
September, even that would be very high. September would like 300. Let's say we hit it even earlier, like in the summer, that would be 270. And personally, we are still like inside. We can look at this. This could be like some kind of channel here. And I just see it very hard breaking out of it. So even if we break this channel here, it would have to go like really parabolic. So yeah, I guess we have to see. This would be my extreme bullish target for Bitcoin. I personally really highly doubt we're going to see this pitchfork. So what I'm using here, as we basically spoke about in the previous video, when you asked me to pull from the C19 low, so I kind of readjust my pitchfork. So from the C19 lows here, instead of using the bear market bottom as we did previous bull run, we used the C19 lows instead. We used the bull market top, or the previous bull market top, and then the previous bear market lows. And this will give me a much more conservative target, which is sitting at around 140K, depending, of course, when we hit it. So let's say we hit it in September, let's say. That would be around 180K for Bitcoin. And that would also make sense with my Elliott wave count here. I think this would look very, very good here. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then right now we're setting up for the fifth wave, depending, of course, when we're going to reach it. The pitchfork doesn't give us any date, doesn't give us any time targets, but it does give us price targets. So the longer it takes for Bitcoin to reach this median line, basically the higher the target. So let's say we reach it by next year, then we'll have higher target. But I do think this is what I'm personally looking at. I'm very confident personally that at least we're going to see a rejection, because these macro pitchforks are not to be messed with. I do believe if we're going to hit this median line, that's basically my personal analysis at the moment. Have this as a 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I'm looking at is one final push here. We have a smaller time frame, 1, 2, some kind of 3, 4 here. And right now I'm expecting a fifth wave here to the upside, and looking personally to start pulling profits and most likely start shorting the bull run at around 150K. But depending when we reach it, if we reach it earlier, it could be 140. If we reach it in August, it could be 170. So I do think this could be something very interesting to pay attention to.
Yeah, I'm. It's weird when you said about 380K, because it sounds too crazy, right? It sounds too crazy. But I believe Bob Lucas's target, based on the cycles, the weekly cycles, is around 380K. I think it might be slightly shorter, actually. I think it might be more like 280. I should probably get that right. Okay, don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. But I know that where I'm calling for a weekly cycle low and double, he's calling for another one after that. So I guess that would put us somewhere.
So you basically, I watched, you said like one weekly cycle low, we double, and then we look for another weekly cycle low, and then double again.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced we're going to get a second doubling. I think I'm actually leaning more on the side that we get a weekly cycle low and a double and a bit, maybe like 150%. If we see 150% this time around, I think that's where I would be comfortable calling a top, because I struggle to see a world where it can do like a double and then consolidate and then double again. I think that's what Bob Lucas wants, and that does put us much closer to 300K, but I'm just not convinced we're going to do it. I don't know. It's kind of hard, as you know. We're all just kind of trying to work this thing out one day at a time, but But for me, I struggle to see it get past about 250,000. I think something would have to go seriously wrong with fiat currency to get it above that. But time will tell, of course.
Yeah, I think so too. And also, it's something maybe we don't even want Bitcoin to go that high. As you said, for Bitcoin to go reach its levels, that would definitely be something big happening in the world, probably like with fiat currencies. So I don't think it's a good thing for us wishing for Bitcoin to go to like above 300K. But anyways, this is my main pitchfork here. I guess time will show here. Personally, I think this is the target, but who knows? Last time I had more conservative target as well, but Bitcoin did crazy. So you could be right on this one. And we have to see. That's what I'm looking at personally here. Also, if we come here on the daily time frame, I believe it just makes sense to me to have a 1, 2, 3, 4. We're expecting the smaller time frame fourth wave here. And then we have to see, right? This is just the only targets I can get from Pitchfork. So around 150K. And then, of course, we can go back to my original Pitchfork as I discussed, but that will just give me a very, very high target. So either for me, it's 150K, let's call it on average, or 300K. So personally, I don't think we're going to see 300K. That's why I'm leaning more towards 150K. But I guess time will tell here. So we have to see here. And then I thought next, I wanted to discuss to you a little bit about the cycle lows, because I know you're expecting this week perhaps, or maybe next week, to find the cycle low. And I'm kind of looking for something similar here. As I said, I have this as a smaller time frame, 1, 2, 3, and right now I believe the fourth wave is already in, and right now we're expecting a fifth wave. Of course, we could sweep the lows here, and basically the fourth wave not being in yet, and we could do something like this, making the fourth wave before then we start the fifth wave. So I kind of have very similar analysis to you here on the daily time frame, that I do expect a move to the upside. So I'll show you two different targets that I'm looking at. So one pitchfork here on the shorter time frame, we can now move away from the macro pitchfork here and come here on the shorter time frame. Let's jump into the 4-hour time frame. So this was one pitchfork I've actually been looking here for a while. I don't know if you've been seeing my tweets. I've been tweeting. Basically, my whole Twitter feed is based on this pitchfork. So basically what I've been doing, I use the all-time highs we had here on Bitcoin. Then I use the recent lows and the recent highs. And I'll be using the shift pitchfork here. And I do think it's ridiculous here. Again, the red lines are the median lines is the one that I'm basically using. The other lines here, I don't really use so much. So all my eyes are basically on these median lines here. And we can definitely see somebody is buying up Bitcoin every time it hits this median line. So the question is, can the cycle low already be in? What do you think about it? Do you think it's a possibility that we actually formed the low here yesterday because we came up, hit the median line? We did not take out the previous lows we had here at 90K. So this is one. I have also one more bearish target here. So this could already be that the cycle low is in here, and now we see some more chop, and then Bitcoin takes off. But I'm still open to using the same pitchfork here. But if we switch to the modify shift, the modify shift gives us a bit more steeper pitchfork, and that could allow for Bitcoin to have one more big push down to, let's say, 88K. That would sweep all the lows here. So we could come to 88K and then form the cycle low, and then we're good to go. So do you think the lows could already be using the shift one? Because we can definitely see here in the past, there's kind of strange here. Every time we come down to this red line, Bitcoin keeps bouncing from it.
Yeah, it definitely could be in. For me, I have to kind of say I don't know until I see a confirmation signal. So until we get a big green push off of the current level or your pitchfork, then we can start to say, okay, we're moving above the 10 moving average on the daily, or we're breaking out of trend lines, or we're pushing off of your pitchfork. We need something to kind of point at and say that looks like a new cycle has begun. And until we get that, then I have to kind of say that it is still slightly early to see a low. I think that low is day 54 would be around the 22nd of February. So we enter the true tolerance and time window for the cycle around, hang on a minute, let me get my dates right. My brain is not working today. Wait a second, let's be accurate. So we got a perfect 60-day cycle low on the 28th of February, and we enter day 54 on the 22nd. Yeah, that is correct. So on day 54, we will be at the 22nd of February, and any time after that, then we can say, okay, we're inside of the timing window, we're inside a legal and qualifying cycle timing band, and then for me, I can start to look for a true bottom. And price
after
can...
the 22nd.
Yeah, after the 22nd. Then once if we can just get through the 22nd, then I can start to seriously entertain any kind of big green push, whether it's from your pitchfork or, like I said, whether it's a trendline break, whether it's a MA cross, any kind of big green push after the 22nd, and we can start to be, from my perspective at least, serious that the cycle low is in. But until we kind of get there, then on a balance of probabilities, because 80%-ish, depending on the asset class, of the cycle lows fall inside of that window, it's only reasonable for me to say, well, with an 80% chance, I can be right here by just waiting until we at least get past the 22nd. So I have to kind of stick to my strategy. I have to kind of think to myself that the low is not yet in. But as ever, one day at a time, and if all it will take for me to invalidate this idea is one big green candle, and then I'll be like, that's probably it. Time to get long.
Yeah, definitely. I think time will show, of course. We have to see either for confirmation. Perhaps we could look for the break of this median line here, 98K. I was still personally open just because so many times we tested this median line. So usually the more times we test support, the weaker it gets. This is what I'm seeing here. I've been trading Pitchforks for, I don't know, I think close to 6-7 years now. This is not a usual activity you see. You don't see, very, very rare, you see the median line being tested so many times and still holding. So usually after a few touches, the median lines tend to break unless they form a low here. But so far, it's just crazy to me how we have tested it so many times. Each time we come back again, I'm thinking, okay, we break it, we might go to the modified shift and then form the true cycle low here, which would need like a deeper push to like 89K. Of course, now would have to have kind of a big crash, but let's say we would hit the modified shift, which would sit around 88K before we go up. But so far, it's been holding strong here, and as we're speaking, it's kind of pumping a bit. Also, we can look at another different pitchfork if we come back here on the macro chart. Here, if we come on the daily chart, which also correlates with the shift one here. I don't want to sound too confusing, but if we use the previous, not the all-time highs that we had in January, but the all-time highs we created in December from the lows and then the recent all-time highs again, and using the original, we can see here, this was the previous pitchfork I was looking at. And this median line actually seems so far to have been predicting the low. So I'm still open to, if we have another push here again, to have a double bottom at the median line, which would sit also around 88K. So this is the daily pitchfork correlating with the short time frame pitchfork. So let's come back here on the modify shift. So this would both give us an 88K target. If in fact we have one more push down, then I think we have a very accurate target if we focus on the median lines to catch the lows, because this modify shift is showing 88K and this original pitchfork on the daily is also showing more or less 88K. So we'd have a very nice confluence here. If in fact Bitcoin is going to have one more push down here, we have the daily pitchfork here. We know we're going to have see strong buying pressure here. Most likely going to form a low here, just as here on the 5-hour or the 4-hour chart. So that's kind of my bearish scenario. I really personally don't think we're going to go below 88K just because we have so much support here. I wouldn't like to see, like, I'm open to sweep the previous lows here at 88K quickly. But anything below that, I see some people asking me for 85K. I just don't see that happening. And I actually wouldn't like to see that happening if you go below 88K. So for me, the 88K is my bearish target. And then one thing I also wanted to ask you is the open interest. Because what I was looking at here today, because I actually opened a long position here yesterday. And right now, I'm not sure what to do with it. I opened a long position here, expecting if the cycle low is in, I want to be able to ride this as high as possible. But I'm not sure if we still have one push down, I'm going to look to close it. One indicator I've been looking at is the open interest on Bitcoin. I don't know how familiar you are with this, Camel. I want to just quickly just show you here something that I was looking at personally. So if we look in the past, this is a 6-hour Bitcoin chart here. We can go back, but I'll just cover the past few months here on Bitcoin. So each time Bitcoin has made any significant low here, we can see it correlates with the open interest being wiped out. So basically the open interest is like, this Camel, but for the viewers, open interest is basically it means how much leverage more or less there is in the market. So when there's high leverage in the market, that's not a healthy thing overall. Market likes to not have a lot of leverage to be able to reset before we can continue higher. That's kind of how I see it personally. And we can see here every time Bitcoin comes down here, forms a low before we push up, open interest comes down usually and resets here. We can see every time. We can just look here as well. Here when Bitcoin had a big low here, open interest had a big low. The same way when we see open interest start spiking, that's usually a warning sign. We know there's a lot of leverage longs piling up into the market, a lot of retail coming in with high leverage, and that can easily cause for these long squeezes basically for deleveraging, and then we'll see the spike down. But yesterday was a very interesting day because we had actually open interest spiking here while Bitcoin came down. So I don't know what to make of this. I always thought the open interest was long position leverage, but I guess it's also calculated the short, like if there's a lot of short positions with leverage. So let me see here if I can show you a clearer chart. Let me see if I can paste it on top of TradingView here. Just give me 1 second. So basically, this is what I was looking at yesterday here. If you can see, so this is the open interest chart from yesterday, and then we have the Bitcoin chart on top, open interest below. So we can see here, as I said, in the past, usually when Bitcoin forms these big lows here before we have a rally, it correlates with open interest coming down. But if we check yesterday, we had a very strange action here. Open interest was spiking while Bitcoin formed this low. So do you have, Camel, any opinion of this? Anything you could advise? Because I don't know what to make of this.
I don't really know what to make of it either, to be honest. Apart from, I guess, just people are betting on a direction change, right? People are betting on Bitcoin about to move, which kind of makes sense in my mind, at least, because the volatility has been squeezing. So I guess as the volatility squeezes, traders are using leverage to try to bet on a volatility expansion. But I'll be honest, this is not something I use at all. Open interest and that kind of thing. As you know, I am very sort of a stripped back trader. I use very few tools personally. So I'm by no means an expert in this.
Yeah, well, that's definitely, I think it has to do with the range we have been in a while. So probably that's why people start using leverage here as soon as we get some volatility. That was just something surprising to me to see this. So that's kind of holding me back here and thinking, are the lows in or not? But so far, let's see here. I did open personally a long here. So I believe this is my long position here. I open. And I guess the smartest thing for me to do is just move stop loss to break even here. And let's just see how high we can go. But of course, I think it's best to wait for confirmation, as you said, to really know if the cycle low is not. So either we have a breakout of this pitchfork, we can start saying, okay, probably this was a cycle low, or we're going to have one push down. Hopefully, we could then get to the median line, and then I think we can have a very, very nice entry here at around 88K, as I spoke about, before we go higher. So I guess that's kind of it for the cycle low here. If you want to say anything else here, Camel, but these are the things I'm looking at personally here regarding cycle low. You said after the 22nd, which I thought was interesting, we can start then confirming if the cycle low is in or not.
Yeah, after the 22nd, it's inside the window, and for me, that's where I'm hoping to see it form. It just makes my life easier. I can just have way more confidence if it occurs after the 22nd. And I kind of like your green squiggle that shows a move down. I like that idea. I think it would be nice to sweep all those lows. Occasionally, Bitcoin doesn't do that, right? Occasionally, the low is already in and it just kind of waddles sideways and then pushes up. And so, either way, it doesn't change much of my plan. As I'm sure you know, I've been saying the same things for a while. We either way, I got to wait until we get there, and then long. It's just for me, I would hope to see one final lower low, just because it makes it easier for me to spot. If we get your squiggle on the downside there, that moves down towards the pitchfork, then I think I can easily point at that and say, there it is, that's the low, and then get long out of there. So that's my preference. And I think we probably have one more low to make, but of course, time will tell.
Yeah, we have to see that. If we have one more low, I think we will be prepared here. But so now, as you said, we'll just wait, because to be honest, Bitcoin has been for almost 2 weeks here since beginning of February, we've been in this range here. So we could very well just continue the chop here. So we have to see. I thought for now, I think we finish with Bitcoin here. We could basically just look at this median line here. We see either we break out of it, we can confirm the lows are in, or one more push here before higher. I really want now to talk about the stock market, because for me, I'm fascinated by the stock market. I think it's very, very interesting what's going on right now. And this basically not much has changed. I think last time we spoke was in August here. Stock market has been did quite a nice performance last year. I believe we had like over 22% return. I could be wrong about this. But 2024 had like quite a decent year for the stock market. I mean, it's over 20% return, I believe. And I remember we spoke about this micro pitchfork here. So we can just show it here again for those who don't remember from last time. We can come here on the 2 week. I have this the biggest pitchfork I believe I've ever drawn on any chart. This is my Elliott wave count on the stock market. We had a massive 1, 2. Basically, I pulled the pitchfork from the second wave, which goes to 1974, up to the third wave here when we had this big bull run here in the stock market into 2000, basically, where is my third wave. And then the 2009 stock market crash here is basically my fourth wave here. And that's where I've attached the pitchfork. And according to this pitchfork now, stock market cannot top just based on pitchfork. Of course, the stock market doesn't move just based on pitchforks, but according to the technical analysis here, the stock market is not going to finish before the median line gets hit. So according to this pitchfork here, if we're going to hit it this year, we would give as a target at around 7,000, depending when we reach it. So this is just an example here I put in September. So let's say the stock market tops in September here. If it tops later, it's going to be higher targets. That would be around 7,200 or 7,100, 190. And this would mean that from current price, the stock market would need to have another 17% return, which is absolutely insane because already last year we had over 20% return in the stock market. So what do you think about the 7K target? I remember last time you said you do think it's crazy, which I also agree. I do agree this target is completely absurd if we also look how much the stock market has been doing well the past years here. So basically what we're calling for is just the stock market to continue going crazy here, hitting the median line here, and that's according to my analysis, that would be a macro top. We're going to finish a multi-decade, basically, Elliott wave count for those who do like Elliott wave counts, and then we can start seeing this big push down, because the bigger the pitchfork is, the more selling pressure there is. So this median line would be something very, very significant if in fact we hit it. And that would also give us an opportunity to start basically shorting here if you have the guts to start shorting right at the median line, try to catch this big move to the downside. So I'm very curious, what do you think? Do you think we could hit 7K here? Let's say we would top by September. It's a long shot. The stock market would need to go parabolic, but what do you think?
I think I'm converted, to be honest. I think last time we spoke, like you said, I was quite skeptical about this move in the stock market. I think I was more bullish on Bitcoin, as you said earlier, and you were more bullish on the stock market. And now I'm looking at this, and it does seem like this is in play. I think last time we spoke, I said I really struggle to see a world in which the stock market can do that well. But it looks a lot to me like it may well be on the cards, right? We didn't top last year or December or January like I was kind of expecting we might. It seems like the market, well, I mean, I say seems, the market literally made new all-time highs in the last couple of sessions. So it doesn't seem to me like it's ready to top just yet. And, 4 months into the future, where we are today, this looks like it is on track as far as I can tell. So I think I have abandoned some of my skepticism. It still seems kind of crazy. But have you seen the DAX? I think the DAX is kind of showing us what is coming for the US stock markets. The DAX is going completely vertical. And if the US can catch some kind of pump like that, then I think we could be at your pitchfork median line target in no time at all. So yeah, I would say my skepticism is significantly less than it was last time we spoke.
Yeah, and one reason what also makes me bullish on the stock market, because basically, or not actually, let me think how to formulate this. The thing is, as we know, Bitcoin is highly correlated with the stock market. So if in fact we're going to see these crazy targets on Bitcoin, so let me just quickly attach the Bitcoin chart on top of the stock market here. As I always say, there's no correct way, I believe, to attach Bitcoin on top of the stock market, but let's just for the sake, I like to attach we can look at the previous bull market highs and the bear market lows here on Bitcoin and the stock market. So we have the Bitcoin chart here on top of the stock market, and we use the highs here to attach it correctly. We can see here right now, stock market is slightly higher than Bitcoin. So if in fact Bitcoin is going to have this impulse move to the upside, it will also make sense for the stock market to have this crazy move, so they can continue the correlation, if that makes sense at all. Of course, they can deviate. As we can see in the past, we could see stock market was very high here back in August. Bitcoin was down here, then Bitcoin caught up. Of course, Bitcoin could overshoot as well. So Bitcoin could do something like this. Let's make this orange. While the stock market is lower, and then Bitcoin then basically corrects back to the stock market. But I do think we live in strange times. And if in fact we're going to get this big impulsive move here, I think stock market is going to lead the way, just like back here in August, where the stock market was going up, Bitcoin's going down here, and then we had this big move where Bitcoin caught up to the stock market. So I do think we're due for some craziness here in the stock market, and then slowly but surely Bitcoin will catch up and then maybe overshoot. We have to see here. But it's very interesting, their correlation right now. And that's also one reason why I don't really see 300K Bitcoin on the table, or even 250K, or I think it's very unlikely, because that would just mean that the Bitcoin would have to overshoot the stock market by a lot. That's kind of my mindset behind it, if it makes sense at all, what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I think if we are, you make a really good point. If we're going to say Bitcoin has got an impulsive move up, then it seems kind of weird that the stock market would move down. I know there's certainly a situation where we could see the stock market kind of get distributed into, and distribution can often take months to unfold. So we could maybe get a situation where the stock market kind of waddles and trades sideways whilst Bitcoin puts in one final pump. And I think there is a scenario potentially where we find this weekly cycle low for Bitcoin. I showed a couple of videos ago on my channel that the previous impulses out of the weekly cycle low, once they broke out of their ranges, only lasted 6 or 7 weeks. This for every impulse that we saw out of the weekly cycle low for this current Bitcoin cycle. And if that's the case, then it means Bitcoin could be topping around April. It's not a call or a prediction of mine. It's just kind of pointing at the previous breakouts and saying if it does the same thing again, it means we may well be hitting targets for Bitcoin as early as April. I think maybe then your 150, 140k target starts to look much more realistic, right? And if that's the case, then maybe the S&P falls a little short of its target. Maybe it just kind of trades sideways a little bit. But I do think you make a good point that they've both been very, very risk-on assets. They've both been very, very correlated, generally speaking. If one's going up, the other is. And so it does kind of make sense that they probably both have more legs. And I don't know if you've got a DAX chart, but if you just pull up a DAX chart and look at what's happening there at the moment, that thing is going absolutely vertical, right?
Yeah,
and I think
the DAX is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and if something like this could just transfer into the US, then I do think we could hit those targets and hit the median line very, very quickly. A lot quicker than a lot of people think, maybe.
Yeah, and the thing is, during these blow-off tops, or basically during end of these bull markets, we do see this crazy price action. So we can come back here on the S&P chart here, because I know most people, especially that follow me, they are crypto traders. And I try to say to them that what we're seeing in the stock market here is not normal. So this is not normal volatility, especially when you look on the log scale here, the stock market looks decent. But when you come here in the normal chart here, this looks absolutely absurd. And especially if we're going to see the 7K here, look at this. This looks absolutely crazy. And then, I don't know, but as I said, towards this big blow-off tops or towards the end of cycles, these big cycles, we do see craziness. And that's when we can also see Bitcoin deviating from the stock market. And there's a lot of craziness we can see here. But it just seems crazy to me. I do think the stock market needs to come down. I completely agree with you on that. I do believe the stock market is way overvalued, but I think the time being is to be long here at the moment and just try to catch a top here, basically. But this is not sustainable, in my opinion, in the stock market. We already had insane returns, I believe. If we pull from the low since 2022 until today, stock market's up 73%. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you're right. This is not normal. This is end of multi-decade cycle things. But yeah, I think long and strong for now, right? Long and strong until we have reason not to.
Definitely. So I think we covered the most important. This was like the most interesting charts. Then I don't want to make the video too long. So I want to quickly talk about Ethereum, because I think I saw your yesterday's video. You spoke about Ethereum, and I want to talk about Ethereum, and then we can quickly look at gold and maybe silver as well.
Sounds good.
So this is the weekly chart on Ethereum against Bitcoin. So I pulled again, we want to use the highest high, the lowest low, and then from the lowest low, we look to the right. Where's the highest high, which is this one here. So this is a Pitchfork I've been talking about for quite some time right now. I've been bearish on Ethereum just because ever since we broke this gray line here, I was looking at most likely Ethereum wants to go down to the red line. So again, this Ethereum against Bitcoin chart. So I've been not very bullish on Ethereum in general, but I do think right now we hit a macro median line. This Pitchfork is basically starts back in 2017, and this is a weekly chart. So these macro median lines are very good to predict macro bottoms and macro tops. So I do think if Ethereum is going to have a run up, and if it's going to have a period it's going to outperform Bitcoin, I do think it's right now. And we can quickly also take a look at the Ethereum chart, but basically against Bitcoin here. So if you're an Ethereum bull, I think, in my opinion, which I'm now personally, I think the time is now. How big of a push here we can get, time will show. But I do think here Ethereum has made a macro bottom against Bitcoin here, which is definitely going to be interesting, because if Bitcoin is going to have this final fifth wave here to the upside, this means that Ethereum is just going to go absolutely crazy. So we have to see. But I thought this Pitchfork is very interesting here. I personally started accumulating Ethereum. I might be wrong about this, but maybe I put too much confidence, but I have extreme confidence in this median line here. We could, of course, chop here again, maybe retest the median line. But on a macro timescale, I do think Ethereum is actually the place to be at the moment, just based on this Pitchfork. So I just want to share with you, Camel, here, and then we can also look at the Ethereum dollar chart.
I noticed you've been bull posting on Twitter for Ethereum, actually. But I think, as you know, I've been very bearish the entire time, pretty much. And some of that was just fundamental for me once they went to proof of stake. And then the charts just kind of never really got better, and I kind of stopped paying attention to it. But you're right. I was covering it recently. I did a live stream, and then I think I kind of covered it again this week, as you said. And I think of all the times that people have been bullish on this asset, it seems like we are getting close. I don't know if this is the bottom, although looking at your pitchfork, it looks like a compelling case, right? Maybe. Or whether we do get a push out of this weekly cycle low for Bitcoin and then we see some rotation. So maybe the big push for Ethereum doesn't come until after kind of Bitcoin puts in its big final push. But I do think anyone that has been bullish has been wrong. And I also think that we're slowly getting to the point where if this thing is going to go, then we're probably closer than ever. I'm just personally not super interested in it. But to each their own, right? I can definitely see the thesis for being long here.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, yeah, you're right. So we have to see, and also we could see like how my orange line here, I drew it, like we could see something like this extended period where Ethereum doesn't do much, and then all of a sudden we fly up. But even if the bottom is in, doesn't mean Ethereum needs to start flying up right now. Like it could take even months before it starts flying up. Just quickly here, Ethereum against dollar chart. So this was the previous bull market top, as I spoke about in earlier this video. From the bear market lows, bull market top, recent bear market lows, we can see the median lines where you actually wanted to sell. Yes, technically this was the top, but if you had sold here, you basically sold the top by a few percent. Anyways, quickly here. So I've been using the similar pitchfork here on Ethereum, the same rules. We pull from the bear market lows, bull market top, recent bear market lows. I'm using the shift one as we used previous cycle as well. And right now we can also see, according to this pitchfork here, we can see this median line was never hit. We came very closely here almost 1 year ago in March, very close to the median line. But ideally, we would like to see this median line getting hit. I'm not that bullish, I will say, on Ethereum. So we can see here right now, we have found support here for a second time on the outside line here. People have been asking me, what's your bull prediction for Ethereum? According to the pitchfork, it would be 7K here. I'm not that bullish personally. I can't come here and say we're gonna see this. I think this is unlikely. Most likely this pitchfork will be wrong, but that's what the pitchfork is showing. And either way, we have found support here. So we could definitely see a push up here in Ethereum. Can Ethereum go to 7K? I cannot say that personally. I think it's way too early to say, but just wanted to share with this pitchfork because this is what the pitchfork is showing. But I do think if we never get to this median line, that will be a macro sign of weakness for Ethereum. So let's say Ethereum has like a small pump here, then we break down, go to a bear market. This is usually a big sign of weakness when these median lines don't get hit. So because we had this macro low here, price is trying its best here for years now to push to the median line, but it's not getting there. So that would be a very big sign of weakness on a macro scale for Ethereum. But either way, if you're a big Ethereum bull, you could look for 7K. I'm bullish here, short time frame, but I just don't see 7,000 getting hit. I'm more like this target here. If we come on the daily chart, I'm looking at this pitchfork here. We can pull from the lows from August to the highs here and then to the recent lows. So we can look at the original. So I do think Ethereum could see something like this, push up here, then maybe it tops, maybe have a pullback, go lower, or then maybe we fly higher. We have to see. I'm not that bullish yet, but I am bullish here. Just looking at the Ethereum against Bitcoin chart. So I do think overall Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin in the upcoming weeks or months. So just wanted to share that quickly. You can give me your thoughts, Camel. What do you think? Do you think we could see 7K Ethereum? Maybe you don't care that much, as you said, about Ethereum in general. But yes.
Yeah, it's not something I'm super interested in, as you know. If it goes to 7K, yeah, happy days, I think. To be honest, I don't really have an opinion. I don't know. You know, if it goes there, that's fine. I think I said this in the week when I was covering it on my channel that although I'm fairly sure lots of Bitcoiners will want to rotate into Ethereum around now, or if not now, then after the weekly cycle low push, I just personally, it's just not for me. I think I'll be focused on other things. So, but yeah, I mean, good luck to the holders. I've always said that. I'm rooting for people to do well. So, and I know there's a lot of people that are heavily invested in Ethereum. So I genuinely wish them all the best. I hope this thing can pump for their sake.
Yes. Okay. I thank for your thoughts on this. Let's quickly, because the video is getting long, quickly look at gold, because I know, Camel, you've been very, very bullish on gold, which has been paying off quite a lot. I personally haven't been paying attention to precious metals too much. I've always been a silver bull personally. We see silver lagging behind, but I do think silver has a nice, I think silver is going to catch up to gold. But either way, because I've actually been following, thanks to you, Camel, I actually drew this pitchfork because I'm not that into precious metals personally. So, and I see you have been calling for these crazy targets on gold. So for me, it's very hard to put a pitchfork on gold. This is the most bullish one I could find. I had the shift one in the past on gold here. So this pitchfork goes all the way back to 1999, and then the bull market top we had in 2011, and then the recent bear market in 2015. So this would have been my first target on gold here, where we can see once again the median lines basically acted as selling pressure here. So we had this nice top here in 2020. Ever since then, gold did sideways. Then again here we can see we challenged the median line. I can zoom in here a bit, and then right now gold has broken above it. So there's not too much we can play around with this pitchfork other than to change it. So instead of using the shift one, we can use the modify shift. And this would give some absurd target for gold. And I know you Camel, are very bullish. So if in fact your analysis play out, maybe we could go even higher. But according to this pitchfork, the next big resistance would be another 50 or 60% for gold. But this all depends when we're going to hit it. So the pitchfork doesn't show us any timing window here. But let's say by 2030, we hit this median line. That will give a price target at around 5,500 from gold, which is from current price. Let's say we top it or we hit it in 2030. That's another 91% return. And gold is currently at all-time highs, which is absolutely crazy. So I just thought to share this with you. What you think? Do you think it's possible to come up to this median line here?
Yeah, I definitely do. And gold has its macro cycles are 8 years apart, 8-year cycle lows. And its last one was in 2022. So it has a half cycle low in its major 8-year cycle due around 2026. So I actually, as crazy as it sounds, I would not at all be surprised if we hit this median line pretty soon. And then we get a nasty shakeout, a big violent pullback into that half cycle 8-year low, which will be a 4-year cycle low. And it would also kind of coincide with seeing some kind of top come in for the stock market, perhaps, as that hits the median line. And it would also maybe even align, roughly speaking, with Bitcoin's 4-year cycle low. So it seems kind of crazy, but I would not at all be surprised if we hit like 4K or something and then get a nasty shakeout into 2026, like I said. So who knows? But I've been way too bullish on the precious metals, maybe. I don't know if you know, but my targets are for the end of the decade or early next decade. I was saying no later than 2033. I expect us to be above 15K an ounce. So
15K on gold.
On gold, yeah, I'm extremely bullish. But I mean, time will tell, right? We'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's good. I guess I have to go rush out and buy some gold because it does look good here. But I think if we could see but if we see 15K, I think that would definitely lead to some currency or fiat problems here. Something big needs to happen, I believe. But let's quickly cover silver as well, because I think silver is very interesting. And as I said, it will be the last thing I'm going to cover right now. I do think silver has some catching up to do. So let me just pull very quickly here why I love pitchforks. So I'll show you this pitchfork here. These are the things that keep me up at night. So this pitchfork I'm pulling from the low here we had in 1971 on gold to the big blow-off top we had here in the 1980s, and then the bear market lows here. So I'll just show you a second why I love pitchforks. And if somebody smarter than me can explain how these median lines works, because I'm not trying to cherry pick. Some people say I kind of cherry pick my pitchforks. I really try not. I try to be very strict with the rules I follow. So basically the idea is you want to find the lowest low on the chart. You perhaps could use this price action. I try from the candles here, the lowest low, the highest high, and then the recent lows, the bear market. Remember how this pitchfork goes back to 1971. So look here where previously silver topped here. Like, is this just a coincidence? I don't know. I think this is absolutely crazy here. Like, it's almost to the dollar. And this was back in 2011 when silver had this big blow-off top here. If you had sold at the median line, you basically would have sold the top. And right now we can use the same rule here on silver, but for this bull run. So the idea is we want to find the lowest low, the highest high, and the recent lows. So we can pull here from the bear market lows we had in 1991 to the bull market top to the recent bear market lows. And we can start with a shift pitchfork here. So let me just attach here to the lows. We can see here, I believe this is a reason why silver has been struggling. We can see here again, I'm strictly following the rules here, not cherry picking anything here. Let me just make sure I've attached the pitchfork here correctly. We can see here, silver has been, it came up to this median line here, algorithm starts selling, or whoever are controlling these pitchforks. And right now it's looking to retest this again. So I do think silver, of course, we have different pitchforks. We can then use the original, which is going to be higher, and probably we can break out of this. But I do think for silver to come to 58 is it's very possible, and I think that's where silver is going. And of course, we could go higher than that. This pitchfork is not very steep. Then of course, then we have to readjust, maybe change the lows a bit. But at the moment, I believe that's why silver has been lagging behind, just because here we've been on we can use the shift one or the modified shift. We've been below this median line. But I do expect once silver start breaking this median line, we can get this nice catch-up rally to gold. So that's kind of what I'm showing. I want to know about do you have any very, very bullish silver targets? I know you're very bullish on gold, but on silver, I'm actually not sure your views.
Yeah, I expect at least 50, if not more, dollars. If that gold scenario I talked about where we rush up to the median line soon, I think that's entirely possible to be hit $50 for silver this year. And my kind of 2030 to 2033 target for gold is sitting at around 15K. I think silver can do at least $250, if not $300 in that same kind of timing window. Now, with that said, obviously silver has been lagging a lot, and it's been, you said about keeping you up at night. The thing that keeps me up at night is, why is it the first time ever we've not seen silver kind of leading this bull market for gold? The 8-year cycle low is in, gold has been absolutely ripping higher. And so the thing that keeps me up is silver just experiencing some giant head fake right now? And is this going to be the first time ever that silver just kind of rolls over and gold keeps ripping higher? Or are we about to see a monster catch-up trade for silver? Is silver just about to double in a handful of weeks and suddenly we're going to be at $50 or more? I don't really know. But yeah, I'm super interested. I think long-term, nothing is going to stop this thing going into the three figures for sure. By the end of the decade, I'm sure we're going to be a couple $100 at least. And my target is more like 250, 300 by that 2033 timeframe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories regarding silver, basically, which I'm not that into. But I have a family member that's like very into silver and so on, and he has been telling me that basically there's less silver in the world than people think, and like silver is extremely undervalued and so on. So let's see, maybe silver could like all of a sudden have these crazy moves. I also, people are saying banks are shorting heavily silver, they're pushing it down. So let's see. Basically, I don't know too much about it, but from the Pitchfork perspective, just based on technical analysis, gold looks very bullish, as I just showed, and silver as well. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how that develops. And I do agree with you, Camel, that I do think it's very important to own some precious metals. And personally, I realize now I don't own enough, I believe. But that's all it for me today. That's all the charts I want to show you. I thank you so much, Camel, for having me on. And if you have something to say here before we finish.
No problem. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Like I said, you are highly, highly requested. I will put a link in the description of this video and the pinned comment to your Twitter and to your YouTube channel. If you want to shout anything out or let people know where they can find you as well, please do that now. And otherwise, thank you again for being here. This was really awesome. And we'll see, right? We'll see how it plays out, and maybe we can do this again in a couple more months and see where we've evolved.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you very much. And yes, probably we'll catch up soon in a few months, and we can see here, update our charts a bit and see where we are. Been a pleasure to talk with you, and thanks so much.
No problem, mate. Do you want to? Where can people find you? What's your handle on Twitter and your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is just Crypto Cobra, and my Twitter handle is like Algorithm Trading. I think it's best if you can find my Twitter via my YouTube, but I'm mainly active on YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube. There I mainly post crypto, but also a bit about the stock market, and precious metals is mostly for Twitter. Sometimes I post, but yes, I'm mainly posting daily videos on YouTube, so you can find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure, and we'll speak soon. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.